All right, so let's dive into something pretty fascinating today.
Okay.
Cuba, a nation that's been navigating U.S. sanctions for decades,
Right.
is making a major move by joining BRICS. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
Yeah.
And they're not just an acronym, they
Nah.
represent a substantial portion of the global economy and population.
What's interesting is that BRICS is presenting itself as a real alternative
Oh, really?
to the Western-dominated systems we're used to.
So it really makes you wonder what this means for Cuba.
Yeah.
Its people and the future of global trade.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty striking shift. A country largely excluded from the U.S.-led economic system
Right.
is finding new opportunities and partnerships in a completely different arena.
This raises a crucial question
Yeah.
about the changing dynamics of global power.
Okay.
Is this a sign that nations have more choices beyond aligning solely with the West?
Let's start with the impact of the U.S. embargo on Cuba's economy. It's limited their access to global markets and resources for years.
The embargo has definitely affected Cuba's economic development.
Right.
But BRICS membership could offer a way to sidestep some of those restrictions.
Okay.
For example, they could start using alternative payment systems,
Mm-hmm.
like the BRICS payment system,
Okay.
which allows transactions in local currencies, reducing reliance on the U.S. dollar.
So instead of being bound by the U.S. dollar,
Exactly.
they could be trading in yuan, rupees, or rubles.
Right.
That's a significant change.
It weakens the impact of U.S. sanctions and opens up new avenues for trade and investment.
Okay, so it's not just about symbolism. It's
Nah.
about tangible economic benefits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Think about access to new markets, alternative trade routes,
Yeah.
and even the potential to attract investment from BRICS nations.
Mm.
For example, Russia has already expressed interest in supporting Cuba's nickel production,
Oh, wow.
a key industry for the island.
And their ports, particularly the Mariel port, are strategically located to become major hubs
Yeah.
for BRICS trade in the Americas.
Exactly.
We're already seeing shipments of essential goods, like food and medicine, arriving from BRICS countries.
That's right.
It's helping them address shortages and lessen their dependence on traditional trading partners.
Exactly.
It seems like Cuba's taking practical steps to leverage this new partnership.
Yeah.
But what's in it for BRICS? Why were they so eager to bring Cuba on board?
Well, Cuba possesses valuable expertise in various sectors,
Oh, sure.
such as biotechnology, agriculture, healthcare, and nickel production.
Okay.
Think about it. Cuba's renowned for its healthcare system.
Right.
There's potential for knowledge sharing and collaboration
Yeah.
with other BRICS nations
Okay.
in areas like medical research and pharmaceutical development.
So it's not just a one-way street.
No, it's not.
Cuba brings something valuable to the table.
Precisely.
Hey.
It's a mutually beneficial partnership. Plus, Cuba's strategic location in the Caribbean
Yeah.
makes it a key access point for BRICS trade in the region.
This move could have a ripple effect on global trade.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
It certainly challenges the existing Western-centric model
Mm-hmm.
of global trade and finance.
Okay.
This shift towards alternative currencies within BRICS
Right.
could potentially decrease the dominance of the U.S. dollar in international transactions.
Which could have implications for U.S. influence on the world stage.
Potentially.
Yeah.
It's still early to say,
Right.
but other nations facing economic isolation might see this as a viable alternative to aligning solely with the West.
Let's zoom in on some specific opportunities that Cuba is pursuing with support from BRICS.
Okay.
The outline mentions tourism, technology, and agribusiness.
Tourism is a big one.
Okay.
Cuba has incredible natural beauty and a vibrant culture.
Right.
With BRICS investment,
Yeah.
they could improve their infrastructure and attract more international visitors. Imagine modernized airports,
Yeah.
efficient transportation systems,
Uh-huh.
and high-speed internet access across the island.
That would change the tourism landscape significantly.
It would.
But can Cuba handle a potential influx of tourists while preserving its unique cultural identity?
That's a valid concern.
Okay.
Sustainable tourism practices and careful planning will be crucial.
What about their plans to strengthen their agricultural sector?
It's essential for their food security and economic growth.
Mm-hmm.
BRICS nations like Brazil and India
Yeah.
have significant agricultural expertise that could help Cuba modernize its farming practices,
Okay.
increase yields, and potentially even become an exporter of agricultural products.
And let's not forget their aspirations to become a technological hub in the Caribbean.
Right.
With BRICS support,
Yeah.
they can develop a robust technological infrastructure, fostering innovation and attracting tech-savvy individuals.
Right.
Think about the potential for startups,
Yeah.
software development, and even attracting tech companies to set up operations in Cuba.
The possibilities are there,
Right.
but it will require a concerted effort to develop the necessary skills and infrastructure.
It appears Cuba's embracing this opportunity with a sense of optimism.
Yeah.
Their president, Miguel Diaz-Canel Bermudez, has been vocal about the significance of South-South cooperation.
Right.
What exactly does that mean?
South-South cooperation refers to collaboration between developing countries in the global South. It emphasizes solidarity,
Okay.
mutual benefit, and challenging traditional North-South development models.
Okay.
In this context, Cuba's partnership with BRICS nations
Yeah.
represents a shift towards a more equitable and multipolar world order,
Okay.
where power isn't concentrated solely in the hands of a few Western nations.
So it's not just about economic benefits. It's
Right.
about reshaping the global landscape.
Yeah.
And creating a system that's more inclusive and fair.
That's the aspiration.
Yeah.
But achieving it will require overcoming various challenges and navigating complex geopolitical dynamics.
Speaking of geopolitical dynamics,
Mm-hmm.
how do you think the U.S. will react to this shift? They've tried to isolate Cuba for decades with the embargo.
It puts the U.S. in a difficult position.
Right.
Cuba's actively pursuing alternative economic partnerships, diminishing the effectiveness of the embargo. So it'll be interesting to see if they adapt their approach.
Will they double down on sanctions or will they reconsider their strategy?
Only time will tell.
Okay.
But Cuba's BRICS membership is undoubtedly a game changer.
Yeah.
Not just for Cuba, but for the region and potentially the world.
This deep dive is already proving to be quite fascinating. We've got more to uncover.
Yeah.
So stay tuned for part 2,
Okay.
where we'll explore the human impact of these changes and delve deeper into the potential consequences for the global balance of power.
It's a fascinating development, isn't it?
Yeah.
To see Cuba, a nation that's faced so much adversity,
Yeah.
taking such bold steps to shape its own destiny.
It really does make you think about the potential for change.
Right.
And the power of forging new alliances. But beyond the geopolitical maneuvering,
Yeah.
what does this shift actually mean for the average person in Cuba?
Right.
Will their lives be impacted?
That's the most important question.
Yeah.
Right? It's one thing to talk about economic indicators and trade deals,
Right.
but ultimately the success of this partnership
Yeah.
should be measured by its impact on the lives of everyday Cubans.
Exactly. Will they see improvements in their daily lives?
Yeah.
Will there be more opportunities for them?
There's certainly potential for that.
Okay.
Increased trade and investment
Uh-huh.
could lead to job creation,
Okay.
especially in sectors like tourism, agriculture, and
Yeah.
technology.
Okay.
For example, if Cuba becomes a hub for software development,
Right.
as we discussed earlier,
Yeah.
it could create a whole new industry for young Cubans with tech skills.
Yeah. That would be a game changer.
It would.
For a generation that's grown up with limited access to technology and global markets.
Imagine a Cuban entrepreneur developing an app
Oh, wow.
that connects local farmers with consumers in Brazil or India.
Oh, okay.
That's the kind of opportunity that BRICS membership could unlock.
It's exciting to think about the possibilities.
It is.
But let's be realistic.
Yeah.
There are bound to be challenges, too.
Right.
What are some potential downsides or obstacles that we should consider?
One concern is that increased foreign investment could lead to rising inequality. If the benefits aren't distributed evenly,
Okay.
the Cuban government will need to implement policies that ensure everyone shares in the prosperity.
So it's not just about economic growth,
Right.
but about equitable growth.
Exactly. They'll need to focus on social safety nets, affordable housing,
Yeah.
and access to education and healthcare for all Cubans,
Okay.
regardless of their income or background.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Are there any concerns about potential exploitation of Cuban resources or labor by BRICS nations?
It's a valid concern.
Okay.
Whenever you have powerful nations investing in a developing country,
Yeah.
there's a risk of exploitation.
Right.
Transparency,
Uh-huh.
fair labor practices,
Yeah.
and environmental protection will need to be top priorities
Okay.
for both Cuba and its BRICS partners.
So it's about striking a balance between attracting investment
Yes.
and protecting the interests of the Cuban people and their environment.
Precisely.
Okay.
It's a delicate balancing act.
Yeah.
And it will require careful planning and oversight
Right.
to ensure that the benefits of this partnership outweigh the risks.
The outline also mentions a focus on scientific and cultural exchange between Cuba and BRICS nations.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that aspect?
I think it's incredibly valuable. Beyond the economic benefits,
Yeah.
there's immense potential for cultural enrichment and mutual understanding.
Imagine Cuban doctors collaborating with their counterparts in India
Right.
to develop new medical treatments. Or Cuban musicians touring across Brazil,
Yeah.
sharing their vibrant musical traditions.
Those are great examples.
Yeah.
It's about fostering a sense of shared humanity and breaking down barriers
Yeah.
that have historically divided nations.
It's almost like Cuba is entering a new era of globalization,
Yeah.
but on its own terms, right?
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
They're engaging with the global community,
Uh-huh.
but not simply as a passive recipient of aid or investment.
Right.
They're actively shaping the terms of engagement,
Okay.
leveraging their unique strengths,
Yeah.
and forging partnerships that align with their values and aspirations.
It's inspiring to witness a nation taking control of its own destiny
It is.
and challenging the traditional power dynamics of the world.
And while the path ahead won't be without its challenges,
Yeah.
Cuba's journey offers valuable lessons for other nations seeking greater autonomy and a more equitable place in the global order.
Okay, so we've covered the economic implications,
Right.
the potential benefits for the Cuban people,
Yeah.
and the risks involved.
Mm.
But let's step back for a moment and look at the bigger picture.
All right.
How does this shift in global alliances impact the existing world order? Is this a sign of a more multipolar world emerging?
That's a complex question with no easy answers.
Yeah.
But it's clear that the rise of BRICS challenges the traditional Western dominance
Okay.
of global institutions and economic systems.
Right.
Cuba's decision to join BRICS is a symbolic and strategic move that reflects this changing landscape.
It's like we're witnessing a power shift, a redistribution of influence on the world stage.
That's one way to interpret it.
Yeah.
The old rules of the game are being questioned,
Okay.
and new centers of power are emerging.
Right.
BRICS nations, with their vast population, growing economies, and shared desire for a more multipolar world, represent a force to be reckoned with.
And Cuba's decision to align with BRICS signals a rejection of the U.S.-led order
Right.
and a search for alternative paths to development and prosperity.
Exactly. It's a bold statement
Yeah.
that resonates with other nations seeking greater autonomy and a fairer share of global resources and influence.
So how might the U.S. respond to this evolving geopolitical landscape? Will they adapt to this new reality or double down on their traditional strategies of dominance?
That's a question that analysts and policymakers around the world are grappling with.
We've explored the intricacies of Cuba's entry into BRICS,
Right.
analyzing both the potential benefits and the inherent risks.
Yeah.
But one question lingers.
Yeah.
Is this a harbinger of a more balanced and multipolar world? Or is it simply a reshuffling of the deck within the existing power structure?
That's where we invite you, the listener, to join the conversation.
Okay.
We've provided the context,
Yeah.
explored the nuances,
Yeah.
and highlighted the key players.
Yeah.
Now it's up to you to draw your own conclusions.
What do you think the long-term implications of this shift will be?
Right.
How will it impact your own life, your community, and the world around you? So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the economic implications of Cuba joining BRICS to the potential cultural exchanges and the impact on the average Cuban citizen.
It's been a fascinating conversation.
It really has. But I'm curious,
Yeah.
what stood out to you as particularly significant or surprising?
For me, it's the potential for Cuba to become a leader in renewable energy in the Caribbean.
Oh, interesting.
We touched on this earlier,
Yeah.
but it's worth emphasizing.
Right.
With support from BRICS nations like China,
Uh-huh.
which is a global powerhouse in renewable energy technology,
Right.
Cuba could transition away from its dependence on fossil fuels
Okay.
and become a model for sustainable development in the region.
That's a great point. We often think about the economic and geopolitical aspects of these alliances,
Right.
but the environmental dimension is crucial as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about reducing carbon emissions.
That's right.
It's about creating a more resilient and sustainable energy system
Okay.
that benefits both the environment and the Cuban people. Imagine a Cuba powered by solar and wind energy,
Yeah.
reducing its vulnerability to volatile oil prices
Okay.
and contributing to a cleaner, healthier planet.
It's a vision of a future that's both inspiring and achievable.
It is.
And it speaks to the broader idea that these partnerships can be about more than just economic gain.
Yeah?
They can be about addressing shared global challenges,
Right.
like
Yeah.
climate change,
Yeah.
and creating a more sustainable future for everyone.
I completely agree. And it's not just about technology transfer either. It's about sharing knowledge, best practices,
Right.
and building capacity within Cuba
Mm-hmm.
to become a leader in this field.
So it's about empowering Cuba to be a part of the solution,
Exactly.
not just a recipient of aid or technology.
Precisely. And that's what makes this partnership so intriguing. It's not a one-way street.
Yeah.
It's a collaborative effort
Uh-huh.
where both sides bring something valuable to the table.
It's like we're witnessing the emergence of a new kind of globalization,
Mhm.
one that's more balanced,
Mhm.
multipolar,
Right.
and focused on sustainable development.
That's an interesting way to frame it.
Yeah.
It's not the old model of globalization,
Right.
where powerful nations dictate the terms
Mm-hmm.
and developing countries are simply expected to follow.
Instead, it's a model where nations like Cuba can chart their own course,
Yeah.
forge partnerships that align with their values, and leverage their unique strengths
Okay.
to contribute to a more equitable and sustainable world.
And that's why I think it's so important to keep an eye on what's happening in Cuba.
Right.
It's a microcosm of the larger shifts taking place in the global order.
It's a story of resilience, adaptation, and the pursuit of a more just and sustainable world.
And as we conclude this deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought. Cuba's journey into BRICS is a reminder that change is possible,
Mm-hmm.
that the world is not static,
Right.
and that new possibilities emerge when nations dare to challenge the status quo
Yeah.
and forge their own path.
It's a reminder that the future is not predetermined,
Right.
that we have a role to play in shaping the world we want to live in.
Exactly.
So stay curious, stay informed, and keep asking questions.
Because the more we understand about these complex global dynamics,
Yeah.
the better equipped we'll be to navigate the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into Cuba's entry into BRICS. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the complexities of our world.